for characters who've survived the apocalypse this long and have become such strong survivors, what I'm most interested to see is how they will adapt to a world that is the closest thing to what the world used to be that they've seen in 10
Hmm.
years.
How are you? How has everything been? I know that we're mid Walking Dead production. We're about to come out. We just completed Comic-Con. It's an exciting
I
time.
know. It's very exciting and it's so surreal. We've gone to Comic-Con every year since year one. So I'm like, it's so weird not to be in San Diego right now. But this is really fun. And I'm glad they figured out a way to keep the panels going for the fans and get them to see all the new stuff we've been working on. So it's a little bittersweet. We all miss going to San Diego this time of year, but we're excited.
Yeah, yeah. I know. In person soon, and hopefully New York
Yes.
Comic-Con as well.
Yes.
All of the
Yes. New York
things.
too.
Um, you just dropped the season 11 trailer, and it was crazy. It was crazy, Denise.
It is. It's so funny. We always show the trailer to the crew before it goes out to the world. And, even the crew who's been here for every minute and knows everything we've done, they're like, holy cow, like we shot all that already. It's just they're constantly putting stuff in. There's a few things in the trailer that we just shot a couple weeks ago. So,
Oh my God,
they're
amazing.
constantly adding to it right up until the very end. So it's been busy. We started early this year. We started filming in February. So we've got quite a lot already
Uh,
in the can.
that's nice. It's nice. You got to sort of escape winter a little bit in Atlanta, I hope.
Yeah, it was
A
cold.
little bit.
I'm not gonna lie. It was February in Atlanta. I know people think Georgia doesn't get. I don't like to be cold. I
I
like
get
shut
it.
down mentally when I'm cold. So it was surprising to be like freezing to death when we started, but it's back to sweltering. So we all feel back to normal now.
Good, good. I'm glad. I'm from Miami. I live in New York now, and every winter I'm like, bye everybody. I'm gonna go into
Bye.
hibernation now.
Yeah, I moved to LA. I grew up in Colorado, but I moved to LA for a reason. So
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Um, wow, yeah. The trailer just floored me. I just thought it was so. What we were saying on the channel before you arrived. It felt very horror centric in what felt like a very new, exciting way for Walking Dead. We were talking about how with the whispers in this channel, the trailers leaned a little bit more into I would call it espionage or secretive nature of what's a walker, what's a person, and this sort of it feels very final season to me. It
yeah.
has the pyrotechnics and all of that.
Yeah, we blow some things up along the way. But yeah, it really does. It's, it once we knew this was going to be the last season, it sort of changes everything. We've been going year after year after year for so long, and we've had the great good fortune of being able to go so many years. Shows just don't last this long. It's very unusual.
Yeah.
And so to know we were getting to a point where we had to wrap it up, yes, we have it's an extended season. We're doing 24 episodes instead of 16, but it still is figuring out, okay, what are the things we haven't done that we want to give to the fans? What do we want to show these characters as we're nearing the end? Like how they're dealing with that and how, we're going to leave the audience with them. And Angela Kang, our showrunner, is, very much a genre fan, very much a horror fan, and she embraces it every step of the way. So there's definitely a lot of new creepy scary things. Greg Nicotero was very excited, and he's done it all. So if he can get excited, we know it's going to be scary.
Yeah. I mean, the Reapers are terrifying. I mean, it's fun for us that have read the comics, how now with the Reapers we don't have the source material to go off of. Which is its own sort of fear for us as fans, because I'm I don't know what's gonna happen. I can't brace.
Yeah, yeah. It's one of the beauties I think of getting to adapt something is that the comic books will always be there. That story will always exist exactly as Robert wrote it. But as you're doing a television series based on that, and the fact that we've gone so many years and we're not in that early year headspace of, okay, we've got to do this and we've got to do this and we've got to do this because we knew those moments that the comic book fans really wanted, it allows us a little more opportunity to breathe and introduce some storylines that aren't in the comic books. And that I think is
Yeah.
always really exciting for us because, as you say, there's no clear path. we always change things up. Okay, this big moment's going to happen, but we'll probably do it a little differently. With something like the Reapers, it's a complete clean slate. And so that's exciting for us and the characters because they don't know where it's going either.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Wow. That's great. Thank you for saying that. It's been great to talk to you so far. We're only 5 minutes in and I already have so much information. Well, sort of that point about not having a clear path and coming into a final season and bringing things up for fans and what fans want to see. That leads me. Oh, I froze for a moment. Sorry, excuse me. A small technical glitch on my end. But one of my first questions for you was, or one of my big questions for you, was like, you've been with The Walking Dead since the very beginning. So I'm curious for you, like, what is it like coming to the end of the Mothership series?
It's really surreal. I've been here since the beginning. I mean, I first became involved with The Walking Dead in 2005, so it's really been
Oh
a
my
huge chunk of
God.
my life. And and since we started filming, I'm usually on set almost every day. So it's I had no idea back then it would, 11, 12 years later, it would be take up that much of my life. So it's very surreal. I'm excited for it to end. I think, we'll go out with a bang and nothing lasts forever, and
Yeah.
it's a cool story and I'm so proud and I'm so grateful that we've been able to tell it as fully as we've been allowed to do. And that's 100% a credit to the fans. If fans don't show up, the show doesn't go on. And we were very, very fortunate right from the beginning that it was sort of lightning in a bottle with the characters and the story and the audience, and it all came together. And 11 years later, 11 seasons later, to be here, it's an honor. This is pretty rare air for television. It'll probably never happen again in the world of streaming, which wasn't much of a thing back when we started.
Right.
So I'm proud. I just want to get through it and do the series proud and do these characters proud and you can never satisfy everyone, but I hope for the most part the audience is happy with the conclusion.
I mean, I from the looks of that trailer and from all of the things that we've heard, the new casting announcement with Lila Robbins, that's so exciting.
Yeah,
All of it is so, I know I have so many questions about Lila that we will get to
she's amazing.
eventually.
Oh my
Oh
God,
my
she's
God.
incredible.
I'm
She's so
obsessed
good.
with her and it's so perfect. Like her as Pam is so perfect. I'm
Yeah.
floored. Also the Commonwealth like the what the infomercial for the Commonwealth that played at the end of the trailer is so fun.
Oh, good, good. I'm glad you like that. It's really strange. I mean, if reading the comic books, by the time you get to Commonwealth, as a fan of the books too, I was like, wait, what's happening right now? And we definitely have that experience on set. We've shot a few things where, the cast and the crew are like, where are we? What is it definitely takes some getting used to. And, but it's cool. It's something we've never seen before. And I think that's important to get to at this stage of the game. I think it's going to be really fun to see the audience's reaction to Commonwealth along with the characters because,
Yeah.
it's not like the characters are going to say, "Oh, this is great. This is perfect. Everybody's happy now." It never goes that way.
That, yeah, of course. That's so exciting. Do you have any I know that I don't want to like get into spoiler territory, but
Mhm.
I would love to know if you have any like fun BTS stories, behind the scenes stories from being on set in those moments when the actors were first interacting with this Commonwealth set piece or world. If there's any crumb or anything you can give us there.
I mean, as I said, it's very surreal for all of us. We spent the last 10 years in the woods, basically being, dirty and covered in bug spray every day. And this is a whole different world. People in the Commonwealth are clean. That, first off, is just strange. Um, it's, it's just surreal. I think every single person, whether they're an actor or a crew member, when they walk on set for anything with Commonwealth, there's a bit of an adjustment. And it is cool because, we're still doing all the things that we love about The Walking Dead. The woods aren't going anywhere, the zombies aren't going anywhere. But it just adds this different layer. And for characters who've survived the apocalypse this long and have become such strong survivors, what I'm most interested to see is how they will adapt to a world that is the closest thing to what the world used to be that they've seen in 10
Mhm.
years. And none of these characters are who they were when this started. They've all changed so much. They've all lost so much. And to just, how do you even go back to normal? Is that even possible? And do you even want to? So I think it's going to be a great story to see
Mm.
unfold.
Oh, that's so fascinating. The question of do you even want to? That hadn't even occurred to me. Um, wow, that's exciting. I love hearing you talk about the story and the shape, and I can just like see the passion and the love that like everybody that works on this show has for it. And it's like coming into the final season, it's going to be an emotional time for fans. It's an emotional time for production and crew and all of that. And it feels really exciting to me to have this conversation with you and feel very sort of taken care of as a fan, and that our
Oh,
interests
that's
are being
great.
heard. I think that's really powerful for a creative team to have during a production of a final
Thank
season.
you. Thank you. Yeah, we do.
Um,
Everyone really does. There's such an appreciation for the fans. So that's, we all know we're still here because of you guys. So that is always in the forefront of our mind with everything we do.
um, Thank you. You've been a part of the show for so long, like we've talked about. You've been a member. You've been, you're love the source material. You've been integral to the entire production. And one of the things that we were just discussing was like the surreal nature of the Commonwealth, and that is in and of itself like a huge risk for a show that's been centered in the woods for so long. And I'm wondering if throughout your Walking Dead history, if there are any risks or an example of a risk that The Walking Dead has taken that you feel like really paid off.
Ooh. I mean, I think we've done quite a few over the years, but I
Well,
think
yeah.
the biggest, we had cannibals. That was kind of cool. The I think the biggest risk we took was baked into the story, which is we kill people all the time. We will kill a main
Yeah.
character. It happens regularly, and that's definitely not something that you see happen on typical television. The way we've sort of, I feel like, kind of broke every rule of how television works. I remember when we first
Yeah.
started our first season, we didn't have any standing sets. We didn't have anything on a stage that we went back to. It was all exterior, and that's typically not the way television works. But that was part of the show. It was part of the energy of the show, was the heat and the grit and the dirt, and that's still in there to this day. And then add on top of that you can take, a really significant beloved character and kill them in a really horrific way.
Yeah.
It's gut wrenching for us. It's gut wrenching for the audience, but it's part of what makes it a great story. Is loss is real. Loss is a reality in our world, and theirs is even more so. Um, I think that was one of the reasons why a lot of people didn't want to make this show in the beginning. It took us 5 years to get somebody to say yes to it. And
That's
I think that was part
wild.
of the fear, is that how do you tell an ongoing television series when any of the main characters can be killed off at any time? And fortunately, I think we figured it out, and the audience went along for the ride. As much as they get pissed off, I still get hate mail about a lot of people's deaths, but they keep tuning in. They keep coming back for more because they love these characters so much in general. The ones who've gone and the ones who are still there, and that, I think, is a really unique attribute of our show.
I fully agree. You wouldn't be, it wouldn't be The Walking Dead if you weren't making
No,
those bizarre choices, and or not, bizarre,
they
wild.
are sometimes.
No, but bizarre in the best way.
Yeah.
We were talking about, we have a show on our channel called Rewatching Dead, where we're rewatching through the series,
Mm.
and we've come across the cannibals, which is like an amazing moment. Terminus is just an iconic. It's not even
Yeah.
many episodes, and it makes such a lasting impression on all of the
Yep.
characters. And the first episode where they're at Alexandria, that's like it's like a culture shock and there's so
Oh
many
yeah.
amazing risks. I have some chat questions that I
Okay.
would love to ask you. Chow Michaela is asking, we know that Judith has been Lil Ass Kicker since birth, but how are the other children, RJ, Herschel, Grace, etc., dealing with the zombie apocalypse in the final season?
That's a great question, actually, because we've introduced so many children along the way, and I think we're kind of notorious for the fact that a lot of them don't make it. But the ones that are still there, Another dark part of the show.
Yeah, yeah. Looking
I
at you,
think
Carol.
um, so, poor Carol can't catch a break.
I know.
Um, but the ones who are still with us, the Judiths and the RJs and the Herschels and the Gracies, they're children of the apocalypse now. I think it's interesting being this many years into the story. We're about 12 years into the apocalypse, and these kids have no memory of the real world. They don't know what normal is. For them, this is normal. And I think it's one of those things where I feel like kids almost adapt easier than adults do. Adults have that desire to hold on to something that's gone, and children have a way of being extremely adaptable. And all of those kids have suffered enormous losses along the way. I mean, poor Judith, both of her parents are gone and she doesn't know where they are. And believes Rick to be dead, and the audience knows he's probably not. And it's
Mhm.
one of those things for her. And I think that's where we're so blessed with Kaylee. Kaylee Fleming, who plays her, is such an incredible actress. She's not a
She's
child actor;
so
she's an
good.
actress. And yeah, she has that great depth and that humanity and honesty. That I believe this is a kid who could have grown up in this world, and she's okay. But it's just the nature of what she knows. And I think there's more pressure on the adults around her, who feel we have to keep the children safe, whereas the children are just used to this is just the way it is. She knows how to use a sword, she carries a gun,
Yeah.
she's 14, it is what it is.
Yeah, no, I love that y'all made that choice for us to just sort of see a Judith who's good at life. Like she's just good at apocalypse.
She is.
And I love that. She's not Lizzie or Mika, which is one of my favorite storylines, is the sort
Oh
of,
yeah.
I mean, The Grove is one of my favorite episodes. Uh,
It's brilliant.
um,
It's close to my heart as well. It was a really good one.
yeah, it's great. It's great. But I love that we now are seeing kids who are, like you said, adapting well. Another question we had from chat was from our a longtime fan of our Twitch channel, Deucer, who had a question that was, who directed that epic Commonwealth commercial?
Oh, that was, of course, Greg Nicotero, that directed
Uh,
all of that for the first introduction of Commonwealth. Of course, it has to be Greg, who had a lot of fun with it, because obviously it looks a lot different than the things we normally shoot for the show, and the things Greg is known for. He always does the great gory things on the show, and to get to kind of create this fun, silly commercial, I think he had a lot of fun with it, and it was really cool for us to do.
I'm so ready to see it all play out. um, that's great. Of course, it's Greg Nicotero.
Of course.
He seems like an absolute joy to work with. Um,
Greg I've known Greg for 20 years. So we go way, way, way back, and we've
wow.
had a blast here. He and I are one of the last two standing from the very beginning of the show. There's still, I think we were counting it the other day, and there's about 20 people who still work on the show who've been here since day one. And, we've had a blast navigating this. It's been a beast in many ways. And, he still to this day has such great enthusiasm for, how can we make this even cooler? How can we shoot this even better? He never just is like, oh yeah, we did that before, let's do it again. It's like, well, we've done that. How can we do it different? And considering how many walkers we've killed and how many people we've killed on the show, to have that ingenuity that he has, really helps keep it all fresh and not just another walker kill.
Exciting. I know. I mean, across the entire franchise, I feel like between World Beyond, Fear the Walking Dead, and Mothership, these last couple of seasons, we've seen some really epic walkers. I mean, I love the whole that y'all have paid attention to the way that walkers would continue to decompose as time went on, and that we're seeing a lot of like nature on the walkers. That aesthetic choice is so fascinating and creepy and weird and scary to me. Like seeing that walker on the tree, it's all so good.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, I could have a creepy idea. I would have no idea how to make it happen. Greg is the guy who can figure out, all right, this is how you can make it look that way, and this is how you can make this gag work. And it is something that Angela and the writers and Greg and I have, we've talked about for a long time, which is this many years in, the world would look a lot different. And it's a challenge because obviously we're not shooting in an apocalypse. So you have to sort of, pick your locations carefully and figure out how to make it work where it feels like the world is deserted. And the longer we go, it almost becomes more of a period show than it was in the beginning, because the world and our show ended in 2010. And right. It's a tricky element, but I think because the attention to detail is always there with the crew, it kind of comes through whether you notice it or not, whether you're like, oh, it looks different or it feels different. It's definitely, if you go back and watch the very beginning and you watch it now, the walkers look different because Greg was so committed to the idea that they would change. They would keep, decaying as they're walking around, and that a walker had been around a really long time would look very different than a fresh walker. And he's always pushing to push what we can do with walkers every single episode.
That's so exciting. Wow. So going back to the final season and the behind the scenes of it all, because that is where you've been for our entire Walking Dead journey. You've been there every step of the way. I wish our interview was like 4 hours and we could go season by season. I could just ask you every question I've ever had.
Yeah. It's wild. I never thought I'd spend so much time on set in my life, but it's been a blast.
I would love to know what it was like the first day back on set for the final season back in February.
Yeah, it was a little surreal. I'm not going to lie. I am very cognizant of the fact that we have 24 episodes this year. We have miles and miles and miles to go. We started shooting in February. We're almost halfway through right now of our production schedule, but we have so far to go. And so I think for me anyway, I'm very much in a place of stay in the moment. I have no doubt by the time we near the end, I'll get sad, and think about all these people and all these experiences that I'm not going to get to see all the time anymore. But for me, I don't want to get caught up in, oh, this was the last first, this is the last first day. This is the last first table read, all of those things. It's just sort of, it was exciting to be back after a year at home, essentially. That last year was hard for everyone. And, to be able to be back and be around these people who you love and you're used to seeing every day and getting to tell a cool story for a living, it's a great joy. And I think that I'll never lose that joy over this is what I get to do. But it's way, way too early to be sad. So, for the fans who are getting sad about, oh, it's ending, it's like, well, yeah, but it almost doesn't feel like it's ending because there's still so much story to tell.
So much content. Yeah. Oh, exciting. I keep saying exciting because it's just like the trailer dropped. You're here. It's all happening. It's all
Comic-Con.
Real. It's Comic-Con. It's Comic-Con. It feels like it's like mini Christmas, halfway to Christmas. Do you have any fun production stories of season 11 so far that are like spoiler free, or any fun moments?
That's the hard part, the spoiler free part. Honestly, anything specific that comes to mind, it would be revealing too much. But, we just always have a great time. And what I really enjoyed this year as time goes on, there's a whole mess of story that happens before we even really see Commonwealth in all its glory.
Yeah.
So, it's getting to one of the most exciting things this year, of course, is that Lauren Cohan is back as Maggie. And that has shifted the focus of some of the story in these first 8 episodes in particular. And that's exciting. She was gone and she came back and did the season 10 finale, which feels like 100 years ago now. And so to finally have her back and integrated into the story and working with these characters and these actors, is really exciting, to see. There's a lot about her we don't know. She was gone for a long time and she saw a lot of stuff, and that's going to inform who she is now. She's not the same person she was when she left. And so just getting to see some of these actors who haven't worked together in a while, kind of their giddiness at being back together, it did have that energy of the first day of school when we started. It's just like, oh, what'd you do over the summer? And, checking in with everybody. They really are a family. I know we all say that and every show says that and it sounds so cheesy, but they are. There's constantly text chains going on among them and they're all hanging out together. And we've always been very, very fortunate that our cast is such a great group of people who genuinely enjoy being around each other. And that is always the best part of being on set.
Oh, I love that. That's very heartwarming, and it's the right kind of cheesy.
It is.
We love
I like
our
a
Walking
good
Dead
cheese.
family. Yeah. Oh, same. Please. Ethan Corby is asking if you could pick one character who's no longer in the show to be in the final season, who would you choose?
Oh my God, that's like so difficult.
Deep cuts.
Deep. Well, I'm at the office because rural Georgia. My Wi-Fi at home is a little sketchy, and the pictures back here are like our wall of the dead. So I'm staring at all these
Oh,
faces who are
yes.
like, "Pick me."
Oh, God.
I
The pressure is on from the
the
ghosts.
pressure is on. Well, in some ways, Michael Cudlitz is back directing this year, which is great. So it feels like we have a little bit of Abraham. Um, I'm gonna have to go for the sentimental choice for me, which is I would love it if Herschel was here, if Scott Wilson was still here. He left us a
Yes.
couple years ago, and we all miss him desperately, and just the energy he brought to the cast and the gravitas he had as Herschel, as that patriarch of this bizarre family. I the Commonwealth storyline is very interesting, getting to it, the road to it. And then once we actually get there is like, what would he think? What would he say?
Yeah.
And I think every character will have a different response to this world. But I would be, I think anytime Herschel said anything, it was very impactful. So I would just be very curious what he would think about where they are 12 years into the apocalypse.
Yeah. Herschel was such an amazing character, and Scott Wilson is such a gifted actor. Every scene that he was in was just like radiated with like just so much heart and soul. Like that is an actor who is just like wide open.
Yeah.
Going back to the Commonwealth for a moment, you touched on it briefly, but I wonder if there are certain themes or elements that comic fans can be expecting when we get to the Commonwealth, especially because we're going to be dealing with a sort of a society that seems to be more together or more like functional than other places we've been. I'm wondering how that'll stretch thematically on the show.
I think it's been really interesting because I think every character as well as every audience member will probably have a different reaction to it, of whether this is interesting, whether they hate it, whether they, just because it is so different. And I think that's a really compelling way. Oops, I'm losing my ears don't fit in my earbuds. But it's an interesting thing to see these characters who've gone through so much and have survived so much, and dealt with some pretty horrifying things, the cannibals, the saviors, the whisperers, the reapers, which we're still going to see a lot more of, to how do you react to something that looks normal? Do you greet it with suspicion? Do you greet it with relief? Somewhere in between, anger. I remember as a fan of the comic books, when I read Commonwealth, I was so mad because I thought, oh my God, our characters have literally been going through hell and these people have ice cream. Like, screw you. I remember it made me so angry. And so I'm very curious to see how the various characters react and how the audience will react to it. I think Angela and the writers have come up with a really interesting way to get into it and develop it more while still maintaining the things we know and love about The Walking Dead. They're still in the woods a lot. They're still fighting walkers a lot. There's still these character developments going on amongst themselves and these new people and how they all interact. All the elements of the story from the very beginning, from the pilot, are there. It's just the world has gotten so much bigger. And, I look back on the pilot and it was mostly just Rick. And now we have something like 22 series regulars, so it's just the show's gotten so giant. And that's, the more people you introduce to a story, the more complicated it gets. So I think it's going to be fun.
Yeah. Wow. Can we expect any call outs to season 1 or the earlier seasons of The Walking Dead in these final?
we always love doing that when we can and when it makes sense for the story. The thing I've noticed the most this year is actually just some of the shots, the way the
Mm.
directors are choosing to film things feel very season one to me. There's a few moments where I'm just like, oh, it takes my breath away. It takes me right back to the pilot. So I think that will be, uh, you know, they're subtle. There's subtle moments in there, and then some that are a little more obvious. But we always remember where we came from.
Exciting. Well, I just have two final questions from our community for you before we let you go and then take a peek at the final season for ourselves.
Yes, I can't wait for you to see it.
I'm so excited. We've been doing deep theory dives constantly. I have some like wild takes. I am so concerned for so many of my favorite characters, and I'm also so excited. I hope Eugene finds love with Stephanie. It's my one wish for
I
him.
love Eugene so much. Eugene is one of my all-time favorite characters. He's been, up and down and all over the place, and people have loved him and people have hated him. And Josh McDermott is just such an incredible actor, and Eugene is one of those people. No matter what he says, he's entertaining. He's just, he's always fun. You never know exactly what's going to happen with him. So yeah, I'm with you. I'm hoping for a happy ending for Eugene.
Exciting. So one more question from Chow Michaela, and it was, I've heard that Norman takes a crossbow home at the end of every season. What item would you like to walk away with from the show when it ends, and why?
Oh my gosh, there's so many iconic things that have been a part of the show. God, that's a hard one. Um, I think I'd want the sheriff's hat. I think that would be a pretty cool thing
Ooh.
because it impacted so many. It was Rick's, and then it was Carl's, and now it's Judith's, and I think, it's the image of it is so iconic to the show. So I think I wouldn't mind having his hat sitting on my shelf.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that. I know there are so many good things to take. I mean, immediately my mind goes to like Carol's bow and arrow has become sort of iconic, I feel like, in
Very
the
iconic,
later
yeah.
seasons.
Her knife with
Her
the
knife.
handles, the three, yeah, is
Yeah.
That's Carol's knife.
Yeah. You know you're in trouble when that knife comes out.
When that knife comes out, you messed up. Yeah.
And then our last question to wrap up our interview is from Yogurt Girl, and her question is, what words would you use to hype us all up for the final season?
Oh, that's so much pressure. It's, I mean, all the cliches are there. It's exciting. I think unpredictable, um, heartwarming in many ways, uh, and as always, sad. There's definitely some sadness in there. I think the number one thing is family. The show at its core has always been a family drama. We just have zombies, but it's a family drama. And, from the beginning to now, it started with Rick looking for his family, and now it's a different type of family that has found each other, trying to stay together and trying to survive and making sure everybody that they love survives. So yeah, I'd go with family as the number one.
I love that. And just before you go, who for you is the character to look out for this season? I know, another impossible question.
They're all so great. I'm gonna go with one of the new ones. I think Michael Shaw as Mercer has been really, really exciting to see. Mercer is one of those characters from the comic books that just straight off the page is freaking cool, and that's a lot of pressure to put on an actor. And
Yeah.
Michael's cool. Like it's I think he's going to be a very memorable character and someone who the audience is really intrigued by. The characters who meet him are intrigued by him. So I think the audience is really going to have a good time watching him unfold.
Wow. Thank you so much for this, Denise. It was so informative. It was so exciting. I think we're all, I mean, chat has just been like ablaze tonight with people that are
Oh, good.
all so excited about this final season. It's crazy to say final season, the beginning of the
I
end.
know.
Um,
I know. It is the
Such
beginning
a
of the end, but
journey.
it's like I said, it's a long, long journey. Pace yourselves. Pace yourselves. You got
Oh
so
yeah.
much to go.
I will be on this channel watching live, like binge eating snacks. Gasping a lot, I am sure.
Yeah.
uh, Thank you so much for being here. I will let you enjoy the rest of your Atlanta night and the rest of production. And I hope to see you soon IRL at a Comic-Con or Walking Dead event
Yes,
for the finale.
absolutely. Looking forward to it. Thank you for having me. This was a lot of fun.